Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants Hangout. My name's Joe Grabowski. I'll be your host for today. For those who don't know, we're all about bringing science, adventure, and conservation into classrooms across North America and hopefully beyond. And I'm thrilled to welcome back Simon Donato today. We've hosted Simon a couple times through Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. He's an explorer, adventurer, and extreme endurance athlete. So he runs an organization called Adventure Science, where he combines his skills of an endurance athlete and a scientist to conduct field work in very difficult to reach areas. So some of you may also know Simon from a TV series called Boundless, where he participates in extreme races around the world. Simon, it's an absolute pleasure to have you joining us today.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here, guys. Sorry about the technological delays. I'm usually better running or biking or hiking in foreign lands than operating computers some days. Well, it's great to be here. So what ages do we have today? What grades?
We've got groups from all over North America, from grade 2 up to grade 8.
Grade 2 to grade 8. Awesome. Well, Joe and I talked a few days ago, and that was the grade range that I expected. So I'm going to do a presentation today that's going to walk you through some of the stuff that we do as we get ready for expeditions, and how we deal with something called risk and risk management. So that might be a little bit of a foreign concept to you guys at the moment, but I'll explain it as we go through. And basically what it means is just before we plan any project, we always think about keeping ourselves safe. That's the #1 goal with anything we do. So I'm going to walk through some of the projects that we've done and give you a little background on what adventure science is. And then I'm going to give a little exercise so that you guys have the chance to be adventure scientists. You get to sit in my chair and do what I do and feel what it's like to get out there and do some exploration in really new and foreign lands. So let's dive into it. So when people think of scientists, they don't typically think of somebody who looks like this. This is Winter Vinicki. She was 16 years old in this photo, and she joined me for a project when we went to California to look for some missing airplanes in the mountains of Colorado. So adventure science is all about getting outside, exploring places that are new to you. It doesn't have to be new to the rest of the world. It just really needs to be new to you. So it can start at the park down the road. You go to a national park, a state or provincial park, or any place that's different and that you haven't visited before. Once you go there, the science part is being an observer. So to be a good scientist, you have to be a great observer. And that means looking around, listening, smelling, using all of your senses to collect information about the place where you are, about your environment. And those observation skills, coupled with your sense of adventure and getting out and wanting to explore, can help you find some pretty remarkable things if you just take the time to look around. So that's really what adventure science is. It takes people who want to get outside and do some exploration, partners them with science, so that we start looking and exploring in a scientific way. Now, I've been doing this since 2008 through Adventure Science. We've done over 15 projects. We've traveled around the globe, and I'm going to show you a little bit more over the next few slides. So, where can adventure science take you? Well, it can take you across the planet. You're really only limited by your imagination and sometimes your bank account. We've done a lot of work in North America. We've explored all over Western North America, in the Rocky Mountains, in the Sierra Nevada mountains, looking for airplanes, looking for caves. We've done a lot of work in Ontario as well, around Toronto, and we've done some scientific projects there looking at how the human body responds to long-distance running. So long-distance running is something that I really enjoy doing, and I want to see what's happening in my body when I go out and run for 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, sometimes more. So we've done some fun things like that. Is everybody familiar with Madagascar?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you guys seen the cartoon?
Yes.
You enjoy it? Is it a place you want to go now?
Yes.
Cool. Well, we went to Madagascar a few years ago as well, and it was an absolutely wonderful experience. Very, very wild place. So that's some place that it kind of came into my imagination as a place that I would like to visit. And I started doing some exploration and researching online. And that's how I ultimately ended up doing a project there. I found a good reason to go. But today I'm going to talk to you about some of the work that I've done in the Middle East. So can anybody name a country that's in the Middle East? Shout it out if you know one. Puzzler, huh? Head scratcher?
Wait, Southeast?
The Middle East. Yeah. So the Middle East is next to Africa. It's next to Africa. Has anybody ever heard of Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is in the Middle East. How about United Arab Emirates or Dubai?
Dubai. Has anybody heard of Dubai?
Yeah, those are in the Middle East. So if you guys are looking at the map that's up, if you see the box that's around Madagascar, just look up from that. That box is kind of covering the Middle East there. And it's really focused in on a little country called Oman. Oman is a beautiful place. I did my schooling there. That's where I got my PhD. And I really fell in love with it. And there's a rich history of archaeologic exploration there. And I wanted to do some more. So I created a project called Beyond Roads. And we've made a couple trips over there now to look for archaeological sites in the mountains. Now, the reason we go there is because there are no roads. And because there's no roads, if you look at this map here, there's no way for people to get in, for most people to get in. They can take a boat. So let's look at this map. This picture is in the upper left corner. That's Jim. And Jim's been on most of the adventure science projects. He's an engineer in Vancouver, so you can come from any kind of background to be an adventure scientist. You don't have to be a geologist or biologist. You just have to be a good observer and really, really interested in exploration. So if you look in the bottom of the picture, you're going to see it says approximately 10 kilometers. So for my friends in the United States, that's 6 miles. Now look a little bit up from that. There's a town called Kassab with a star. That's the end of the road. So if you fly to Dubai, and maybe your teachers can show you where Dubai is after this talk, you'll drive for about 3 to 4 hours. You have a border crossing in there to get to Kassab. And once you're in Kassab, that's the end of the road. To get up to where the next star is, where it says Da Suni, you have to take a boat or a helicopter. We took a boat because it's a lot cheaper. But that whole area with all those little yellow pins on it, those are areas that are very mountainous and you can only access by water. So we had read some studies that said there was the locals telling these researchers that there were archaeological sites, inland, but nobody could visit them because it was too difficult. You needed to be a rock climber to get in there. So we thought, well, we're pretty good rock climbers. We'd love to visit the area. So we're going to get in there and explore for these archaeological sites and villages that are long since forgotten. So in order to be an adventure scientist, you've got to do a few steps before you actually fly to these remote places because it's very expensive. It would be a long time for you to collect enough of your allowance to fly to a place like Oman. So the first thing that I did was get on Google Earth, just like this image here, and explore the area from the satellite images. So I want to teach you guys how to do this and basically train you so that you can be me. And I'm going to turn you into little adventure scientists. So here we go. All right. So flying around in Google Earth, I stumbled on this one little part of the peninsula. So if we look at where this area is, it's right near that upper star, Da Suni. All right. So this is a really zoomed in image of this. So this is the first thing I do anytime I go to an area like this. I explore by Google first so that maybe some features will pop out. So guys, we're looking for archaeological sites. I don't know too much about it because nobody's ever visited. What are some things, and I just want you guys to to speak into the microphone and share with everybody. What are some things that you think you'd look for if you're looking at aerial images, satellite images, if you're looking for an archaeological site?
What do you think, Abby?
Mr. Southward, your mic's on. What do you think you guys would look for if you're looking for a site?
You're showing some
Caves.
All right, so we've got caves. Anything else?
Mr. Jancy's group, your mic's on. What do you guys think?
So when it's our turn?
From Google. What you look for.
What's the consensus there? I'm hearing a lot of voices.
Xander,
They
what would
seem
you?
to really think mountain caves we're getting from a lot of the class.
Mountain caves. All right. Anything else?
Mountains. Kingdoms.
What do you think, Mr. Warclatch? Your mic's on. What do you guys think?
Hey, we were just talking about it. They were saying that they would look for old ruins of villages, old villages.
Old villages. All right. We've got caves, which are natural features, and then we've got ruined villages, which are obviously man-made. So that's good, guys. It's a good start, and that's pretty much how I do it. There's a few elements though that I really key in on. So the first one, especially in a desert environment like this one, is color. If you go and move rocks around or plow areas or build a village, sometimes you can change the color. So the first thing I look for is color. Are there any glaring, obvious color differences in the images? The second thing I look for are shapes. And the shapes relate closely to things like caves or sinkholes or villages or farm fields. Humans tend to create shapes that are geometric or linear. You know, we're good at creating circles. We're good at creating straight lines. Nature doesn't do that as much. So if I see a straight line or something that seems a little out of place, I usually go in for a closer look. So shapes are another big one. The final one that I usually look for are just elements that are out of place. So they're similar to shapes, but you know, they could be something like a trail. Is there some kind of weird squiggly line that's showing up that, you know, makes me scratch my head and want to go in for a closer look that doesn't seem to fit into the background? So there's a few things that I look for first, and I think you guys have done a good job of narrowing them down. So we're going to go in for another look. We're a little bit closer now to that. It's that same image. So here we are zoomed out. We've just zoomed in. So thinking about shapes, color, any interesting features, otherwise, what do you guys see? Does anything pop out?
Awesome.
Mrs. Jessup's group, your microphone's on. You guys see anything?
See tracks.
Something pop out, a different color maybe, or a shape?
You see squiggly lines. Somebody said tracks.
All right, well, describe where they are so we can put that in our memory banks and see if they're spotting the archaeological site here.
Then let's see, Mr. Southward, your mic's on. Do you guys see something? Anything in here we should zoom in on?
Lot of hills. Lot of hills.
It is hilly. There are some bushes there. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. All right, how about now? Does anybody see anything that stands out?
There's a white thing on it. A white thing.
White thing. All right. Since I can't see where you're pointing, do you want to describe where the white thing is? Here, if I zoom out, now you can see my cursor, right?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me where to put the cursor.
Go down a bit. Go to that circle that pops out the most. Turn to the right or that little thing.
This way?
Yeah, keep on going. Right there. Right there.
Right here. Okay. Very good. That is something. Is there anything else?
I see anything else?
Yeah, looked a little odd there, didn't it?
All right. Any takers? Any other thoughts?
Listening.
Going once, twice. Sold. I'm going to zoom in one more step. All right. Here, we'll blow this up a bit. Okay, so look in the bottom right where it says Google, and there's that little white circle. I call that the acorn. Now, you see that photo beside it with those two tents? That's what they are, those tents in there.
Oh.
That's what it looks like on the ground. Okay, so there's what you see here, that's a wall. Okay, what you see through the middle, that's also a wall. And you can see the remnants of it right here. And one tent is in this part, the other tent is in the other part. So what that turned out to be was an old farm field. So the people who used to live there 500 years ago, they cleared all the stones out and they made a wall out of the stones. And they actually had irrigation. You can see this line here. See where the cursor is? They would run water from a pond uphill down into this to flood it so they could grow barley. So, but using Google Earth, we had no idea what that was. So we were dropped off on a boat. Let me show you. All right, we were dropped off. You see the dark part? That's water. We were dropped off in the water and we walked uphill to that white spot. So we used our compass to get us there from where we were dropped off. The boat dropped us off and left, and we were on our own for the next 2 weeks. So I didn't know if that was really going to be an archaeologic site. So I was definitely happy when we discovered that it was. Now, you see this big circle or this oval above it? Everybody can see that?
Yeah.
Well, that's enthusiastic. That's good. That's the village. So the farm field's downhill from the village. Now, if you look really closely, maybe you have to get closer to your screen, you can see little rectangles in there. Can you guys see some rectangles?
Sort of.
All right, some see them, some don't. So
Right in here.
the rectangles those are the old buildings. So that's where people used to live. So this site, you can see it on Google Earth. So we knew that there was something there before we even went there. So that's kind of what's cool about using the Google Earth and other satellite images to do the exploration before you even get there, because it saves us time. We don't have to wander around aimlessly thinking, well, maybe there's something here. I don't know. The guys, they mentioned that something was here. Now we know that we actually have a target. We've got a goal that we can use our compass and navigate to. And we were rewarded. This is what we found. This is Jim standing next to a couple of those buildings. So on the sides, those inset photos, those are pieces of pottery. So it just gives you a little more evidence and sense of what daily life was like for these people. Everything they ate on, they ate out of clay bowls and plates. They stored their grain in giant clay pots. You know, they didn't have a stainless steel pot at home like you and I do today. So obviously a very different time, a very different place, but there's still clues through the archaeology. So this was a really exciting find for us and really launched us forward in this whole project. So we found this the first year, and then we ran out of time. There was so much that we found that it took us quite a bit of time to document everything. So we went back and did it again last year. So now that you guys know what you're looking for, do you want to try again?
Yeah.
Actually, sure.
Yeah, that's
All right. We'll see how good you are. Okay. So what do you guys see in front of you here? Just shout out some descriptions of what we're looking at.
Bush.
All right. I heard mountain. I heard bush. Correct on both accounts. All right. So do you see anything interesting with this mountain? You guys see an archaeological site around there? there is one. So take a good close look. See if anything pops out.
Lucas.
There's something next to the mountain. There's something on the top.
Bones, what do you think?
All right, guide my cursor. I want somebody to guide my cursor around and take me somewhere.
There's something on the top.
Holy. Okay. Whereabouts? This way?
Yeah.
Yeah? So something in there? That's what you think?
Yeah.
Okay, doke. All right, let's zoom in. What about now?
Yeah. There's something orange and the house is on the top. What? There's something on the top. There's something on the top.
So right here, this orangey thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're pretty confident, huh? Silence now. All right. We're zooming in some more. Anything else? Or is that the only thing, that little orangey block?
There's something.
There's something there. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you that photo in a second. So
It's a temple.
what about this, guys? Can you see the cursor?
Yeah. It's a temple. It's a temple.
We've got temple. Somebody thinks it's a wall. Okay, so I want you just to remember. So here I am. I'm sitting on the hillside here, looking at this mountain. So this mountain is probably close to a half mile away. So it's pretty far away from me, and it rises up maybe 500 feet or so. So the scale of this wall here that you guys pointed out, it's huge. It's an absolutely massive wall. But it doesn't pop out when I look at Google Earth. And I had no idea this was even here. I only noticed this because it's flat. And everything else kind of seems to be bending this way. So it's a little bit different. So again, when something's different and it doesn't seem to match the background, that's when you want to have a closer look. So for me, I just pulled out my binoculars, zoomed them in, and I could see the little bricks in that wall. So here's the team hiking up to it. Put that back there, shift it over. Now, can you see the little bricks above where everybody is?
Yeah.
Can you see how they're all stacked? Yeah, well, a lot of the wall has to go. So, I mean, this is an ancient mountaintop fortress, hundreds of years old. Well, here's one of the things that we found when we got up there. What do you think that is? Very good. It is definitely a well, and it's an old well. It's one of the last spots so that there was a little bit of water, and you can see that this tree started growing in there. So, I mean, it's a very, very dry area, but this was a mountaintop fortress. So the reason that this was built was because in the 1600s, Portuguese warships used to come to the area and raid the coastline. So when the sailors and the warships would come in, the people of that town would come up here for safety. And sometimes they might need to hide out for a while. So it's really amazing when you get to see these places and walk and explore and find these kind of archaeological sites. It really helps tell the story of what you're going to read in the history book, and the archaeology brings it all to life. So this whole site was quite large. You can see at the top of the image, there's another building up there, but a lot of it has fallen down. So this was one of the best preserved features there, along with the wall. Still very cool. All right, so what do you have in a desert area? What lives there? Well, what do you guys see in these pictures? Yeah. Snakes and goats.
There's the scariest one ever.
Does anybody recognize what kind of snakes these are?
Rattlesnakes.
Related. They are poisonous. These are vipers. So we have to watch where we're going, and that's one of the things that you have to be careful about when you're exploring in these kind of environments. You need to do your research to know what kind of dangerous insects, reptiles, animals are out there, and protect yourself. So because we knew that there were poisonous snakes, we always made sure that we were very careful if we bent down to pick up a piece of pottery, move a rock, or anything like that, because snakes like to hide in these cracks and crevices, and you don't just want to blindly stick your hand in there, otherwise you get snake bite. So anyways, you know, we're not the only ones out there, but there are no people there anymore. So that's my lead-in. That's my lead-in for a little talk about how to be safe in the field. So when you go to these places, especially a place that's mountainous or very remote and there's no hospitals close by, you have to do a lot of planning and preparation. You need to research and really understand what you're getting yourself into. And then you need to put some plans in place in case somebody should get hurt. How can you get them out of there quickly? Well, if you look at this image here, we've actually made the decision to get out of the mountains and go along the coastline now. If you look a little bit to the left, you can see some really tall and very steep mountainsides coming down into the water. We didn't have all of our climbing gear, and some of the guys on the team, there were 5 of us, were getting a little bit scared that it was beyond their skill level, and that if they fell, you know, they'd be badly injured or killed. So when people start to get that in their head and lose confidence, it's a time to bail out. And when you do these projects, you always have to be ready to say, you know, that's enough. We're going to take the safe option and go down and walk along the shoreline. So this photo was taken at about 6:30 in the morning. And that day we left our campsite that was up high at about 1,500 feet and walked down to the water with the goal now of walking along the entire shore to actually the other side of this photo. So that was the goal on the day. Well, sometimes things don't go as planned. What you see here is that's actually me on the left. Tim Pitts is on the right. He's an American Army Ranger. And Jim Mandelli, the engineer who lives in Vancouver, he's in the middle. He broke his ankle, and he did that because he stepped on a rock that was loose. He didn't realize it, but it happened right as soon as he got to the shoreline. And because he had a heavy backpack, the rock rolled away, and he broke his ankle. So when that happened, we all jumped into action. Tim has first aid experience. That was his responsibility. He bandaged Jim's ankle up. We had one of our adventure scientists, Myron. He swam to this fishing village. So these 2 Omanis who are driving their boat, these are just generous fishermen. They don't speak English, and Myron doesn't speak Arabic, but he convinced them to come and help us. And they gave us a 45-minute boat ride into that town that had the road so Jim could get some hospitalization. So everybody had a role to play when something like this happened. Nobody wanted it to happen, but you plan and prepare for it so that when it does happen, you're able to act quickly. And from the point that Jim broke his ankle to when we got him to PASAB, about 90 minutes had elapsed. So that's very, very quick for such a remote area. And this is about 4 hours after Jim broke his ankle. What you don't see is that he's got a cast on his leg now. And now we're out of the mountains, in town, having lunch, and you know the project is over. But as much as it sucks when something like that happens, and it is a real bummer, there's a lot of time and money invested into exploring and completing the project, people always come first. So that's something that I want you guys to remember as you go down your path of exploration and in life. It doesn't matter what project you're on, people always have to come first. Because as long as everybody makes it out safe and hopefully still as friends, you're going to get another chance to do it again. You can always make more money. There's no way we can make another Jim Mandelli. So, you know, this project worked out well, and now we're going to be going back this year to finish it up. So that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to give you a little sense of what it means to be an observer in the field and things to look for before you even get out there, and as part of planning and preparation. But sometimes, even when you plan and you have all the right people and all the right equipment, things do sometimes go wrong, and you have to be prepared for it. But the most important thing is that with any expedition, people. So that'll wrap it up for me today, guys. Thanks for being such a great audience. Happy to take a few questions if you want.
Absolutely, Simon. If you hit the share screen button, you'll come back to us. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for taking us on that journey. Definitely gave us a good feel for what it's like to be out in the field before you get out there and then out there. So thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Let's jump right in and meet some of our classes. So we have from West Kelowna in British Columbia, a grade 2 class, Mr. Warkutch's group.
Awesome.
And they're actually big Boundless fans as well. So I'll turn on the mic so that they can ask a couple questions.
Hi, Simon.
How's it going?
Good. It's Michael, or Mr. Warkutch here, I guess. But I got to start out by saying my wife and I are really big fans of your show, Boundless. I think we watched all the episodes. How is Turbo?
How's Turbo? He's good. He's retired. He's enjoying the quiet life now.
Yeah, one of your best ones that I loved was the one, I think it was Scotland, where you were running across the top of the different peaks.
When Turbo and I were on the team versus Rory and Hunter, or in the earlier season?
Earlier season.
Oh yeah, that was a very challenging day.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Anyway, I'll ask my class if they have any questions. So if you have a question for them.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, has to be a good one. Okay. Kingston. Okay, yeah, say it loud.
How many episodes have you made?
Oh, how many episodes of Boundless have you made?
We have made 30 episodes out of 27 different races. So that's 3 years of filming. And you'd be happy to know that I'm actually here. I'm in Toronto today. I drove in this morning. I'm with my friend Stephen Bray, who's the producer of Boundless, and with one of our cameramen, Josh Reinhardt from season 3. So yeah, it's a family for life.
Nice. Okay. Yep. This is Myron. Say it loud. Okay. Another one from your class? Yep. Question? Ask quick.
What made you decide doing this?
What made you decide to become an adventure scientist?
To become an adventure scientist? Well, that's a great question. I always liked being outside when I was your age. I had a forest beyond my house, so I would go there, ride my bike, walk around, just find things. I used to think it was really neat. I used to find fossils in my backyard too, so that was very cool. So I always loved that. I loved science and exploration. And then as I got older, I really started to enjoy racing. And I just realized that being fit and really healthy, I was able to cover huge areas of terrain quickly and find things faster, basically. So I decided it makes sense to take really fit people, teach them how to be good observers, and then we can go do scientific projects. And that's really where it came to me. But it was during my PhD, so probably 2006, before some of you were born.
Great question. So let's jump to our next group. Mrs. Murray's grade 3s are joining us from Vermilion in, I believe, Illinois. So your microphone should be on. Go ahead with some questions.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Abigail, and I would like to know how many places in the world you've visited so far.
Hi, Abigail. Well, in terms of countries, I think I'm sitting around 45 or so. And places, many places. I visited lots of places in Canada, United States, lots through Europe. And yeah, it's a big, beautiful world. I hope that you get a chance to travel when you get a little bit older.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Jasmine, and
Hi, Jasmine.
I wanted to know if you've seen any volcanoes so far.
Volcanoes so far. Yes, I have seen volcanoes. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to Iceland. Namibia had a volcano that I flew over in the last couple of years. Oh, where else? Mount Hood in Oregon. That's a volcano. But in terms of a volcano actively erupting, no, I haven't been anywhere close to one of those yet. Good question.
Right. Great questions, guys.
Love it.
Let's jump to Mr. Jancy's grade 3 is joining us from Palo Alto, California. Your microphone should be on.
Cool.
Thanks, Simon. It was a great talk. So we have a question that we decided as a group.
All right. Thank you.
What was your most dangerous adventure?
My most dangerous adventure. Oh, well, I'd have to say that was.
Hey, guys.
That would have been my trip to Madagascar. That's where we had a really close call. We went out for so I'll give you a little bit of background. Madagascar, the area we went, has no maps. Nobody's ever explored there. It's something called a stone forest, and it's got these very, very sharp rock formations that are, 50 to 100 feet tall, and it's like a giant labyrinth. So there's no maps. Your GPS doesn't work. Anyways, we went in there, 3 of us, myself, Jim Mandelli, and Travis Steffens, who's a primatologist. You guys might have heard from him. He's a big supporter of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And we got lost for 2 days. We ran out of food. We ran out of water. And oh boy, it was pretty wild out there. We didn't have a tent. We had to sleep on the ground, getting stung by wasps all the time. And yeah, it was quite the experience. We eventually got picked up by the military in a helicopter. So that was our closest call and our most dangerous experience. But it was dangerous because it was so hot there, and we had run out of water. So dehydration, dying of dehydration was the real risk, not being low on food. So the terrain was extremely treacherous. If you fell, you could have impaled yourself. You could have fallen into a crevasse and been lost forever, or you could have just dehydrated and died. So that was a tough one. But sometimes when you go into these areas with no maps, you just don't know what to expect. In that case, we made some mistakes. We were supposed to turn around at 2 in the afternoon. We got a little bit too excited out there and pushed a little too far into the rock forest. And then night came quickly, and it wasn't safe to go out at night. So, we made some mistakes. We learned from it. And that's the most important thing. Making mistakes is human. It happens. Again, you don't want to make them, but it does happen. You just need to learn from them so that you don't repeat them. Good question.
All right. We've definitely heard about that adventure from Travis before, and we've seen pictures of the water you guys had to resort to. It wasn't pretty.
Not pretty. Yeah.
All right. Let's meet another classroom. So we have, let's see, Mrs. Jessup's grade 7/8 are joining us from Douglas, Ontario. And your microphone should be on.
Hi, guys. So who's asking a question?
Have you ever had?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Have you ever?
It's cutting out a little bit. I only got, have you ever had? Joe, can you hear?
Yeah, Mrs. Jessup, your mic seems to be acting up a bit. Do you guys want to type that question into the chat sidebar? There's a blue chat sidebar on the side of your screen in the pop-up menu. If you want to type in your question or two there, and we'll make sure we get them, but your microphone's just breaking up too much at the moment. So try typing them in the chat sidebar. And while you do that, we'll visit Mr. Southward's class in Cochrane, Ontario. They're a grade 5-6 class. And Mr. Southward, your mic's on.
But can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a question.
When did you start?
Sorry, bud, can you go again?
Have I ever had
When did you start hunting airplanes that crash?
something about hunting airplanes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, what did you want to know about that? What got me interested, or have I found any, or?
Yeah. When did you start? How did you get into it?
I started in 2008. That was the very first project we did with Adventure Science, and it was there was a very popular pilot who went missing, very famous guy. He went missing in 2007. The project, nobody had found him, so we thought we might be able to add something by taking athletes into the mountains in California where regular search and rescue teams couldn't get to. So that was how it started, and then from there, we just started looking around, and there's a lot of missing airplanes out there. So we've just kept going, and we now work with a larger network of people who, you know, they're very involved in the missing airplane world, and they'll call us in when they think that, you know, people on the ground who have our skill set could be helpful. But yeah, we've come across quite a few airplane wrecks, and the really interesting thing with most of these wrecks is that they're often in mountains, and they're usually just below the summit. So often it's correlated with bad weather, and it's sad because these planes almost make it. So the pilot, they see the mountain when it's too late, pull back on the stick and try and climb, but usually just don't have enough lift to get over the summit. So they'll be within 50 or 100 feet of the summit, which, you know, when you're an airplane moving that quickly, it's really no time or no distance at all.
All right, Mr. Southwards Group, you have another one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Is it possible to meet?
Can you? How's that? All the other microphones are off. You should be the only one on right now.
Okay. Rain, do you want to ask a question?
Okay. What kind of education did you need to start, like, going everywhere and try to explore?
What kind of education? Well, you know, the kind of education that I have is not necessarily the only kind of education that would work for this, but I always loved science in school, so I really liked my biology and kind of liked my chemistry classes, but really loved wildlife ecology and paleontology. And then when I went to university, I did an undergraduate degree in archaeology and took some biology classes on the side. And then I did a master's in paleontology, so looking at fossils. And because I liked that so much, I ended up doing a PhD in paleontology and geology, where I looked at tsunamis and some fossils. So that works for me. But there's many different backgrounds that you could have. For something like adventure science, though, it really helps to have a scientific background, be it biology or archaeology, geology. But, you know, we've done projects that look at human body. So being a medical doctor or an exercise physiologist, you know, there's a wide range of projects that you could do. It's really, we take our trade and do it outside. So if you have some kind of training that would be useful for any kind of outdoor exploration, you know, it could work. Sky's the limit, really.
All right, great questions, guys. I'm sorry the mics are acting up so much today, but sometimes Google Hangouts isn't perfect. Let's try one more time. This is Jessup's group. If you guys, I didn't see any questions come in the chat sidebar, but if you want to try with the mic one more time.
Okay, back it up. No,
Oh, here we go. They've got it written down.
Okay.
Have you ever had
back up. There we go. Okay.
Near-death experience, Simon.
Near death? Well, there's been some close calls. Probably the most, I mean, the one in Madagascar, if we had made some more bad decisions, we definitely would have died out there. But recently, I did this project in the mountains between Canmore and Banff, and we did some rock climbing there without ropes because we were trying to set a speed record. And it was extremely scary because the rock quality was terrible. So standing, far away from this cliff, it looked very solid. But once you got there, the rock was pulling away and breaking off, and we couldn't go down. We had to go up, and that was probably the closest I've ever felt to dying, where at any moment the rock could have given way, and there's no ropes to hold you on. You would have fallen 50 feet to your death. So that was very scary, and it just I don't need to do that one again. Let's just put it that way.
So in the end, did you set the speed record?
Yes, we set the speed record, but I don't know if it's worth the risk.
Maybe not worth it. All right. Well, Mrs. Jessup's group, do you guys have one more over there? Your mic seems to be working, so maybe if you do have it, try and ask it. See if it goes through this time.
The mic doesn't work. So he just said it might be working, so go ahead and ask him.
How much and how often do you train?
How much and how often do I train? Good question. Well, it depends what I'm gearing up for. And it depends on what kind of expedition it's going to be. Some expeditions are paddling, so I'll be in the water a lot more and don't do much running. But typically, I'll train anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week when I'm getting ready for these projects. So think of it as hour and a half to 2 hours a day is usually what I do. And when it's time to race, that may go up or down a little bit depending on how I feel. I'm not as young as you guys anymore, so all these races, they take a little bit longer to recover from, and I take a little bit more rest after the big long races to let my body bounce back and re-energize and then build it up that way. So it's a little different now than when I used to race hard when I was even 10 years younger.
All right. Well, Simon, thank you for the questions. Thank you for a great hangout and turning some of our classrooms into adventure scientists today. That was awesome.
Hey, it was my great pleasure. Thanks again, Joe, for facilitating. And thanks to all the teachers and students across North America for joining in. I hope you found it interesting. And next time you look at Google Earth, maybe you'll have a few different techniques you can use to try and find some archaeological sites. So,
all right.
Stay safe. Enjoy your day.
All right, I'm going to turn the mics on so the classrooms can say goodbye and thank you. All right. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, guys.